So today I'm going to talk about hand function and fine motor control for Parkinson's disease. The thing is, when we have a tremor, when people have a tremor, they often keep their hand closed, which means you're going to get tightness in the muscles at the front of the hand, which we call the flexors. The other thing is they stop using that hand, and so that causes an associated disuse in the brain as well as in the function of the hand. So we need to be doing exercises to improve that. Some of the common issues that people find is difficulty holding a newspaper when they're reading it because it's shaking, using cutlery, especially having the power to cut up food, or the ability to safely and confidently bring their food from their plate to their mouth. They also find difficulty with buttons and zippers, so getting dressed. What happens is people won't realise they necessarily have an issue because they will adapt and change and compensate for what they're doing. One of the other big things that people talk about is writing. Writing becomes smaller, it becomes messy, and it becomes untidy. And that's because we lose the ability for that fine motor control. A, because we're not using our hand, and B, because of the recalibration of the brain. So, some exercises for finger and fine motor control. So I might just need to adjust the camera slightly so you can see my hands on the desk. So when we are working with fine motor control, we need to think about getting our hands into extension, because we've said if we're clasping our hands down like this all the time, we get weakness through our extensor muscles and tightness through our flexors. So the first exercise you can do is putting your hands together, trying to get your palms nice and flat, and then practicing bringing those fingers away from each other. So if we turn that side on, they're coming away. Now, the most important thing is when you're doing these exercises, we want force and we want big and strong motion, because we know movements can become smaller because of the sensory recalibration of the brain. So we're forcing our finger palms together with some pressure, and then we're opening, pressure, opening, pressure, opening. When we're training our hands, we're wanting to do repetitions of up to 300 a day. So that is using those hands 300 times. So we'd start off doing, with one exercise, 2 lots of 30, and then we may do 5 to 6 exercises, so getting sort of 60 repetitions in of each. Okay, you can then start to do individual finger movements. Now this is really important because we're wanting to get the brain to recognize these fingers as individual movement, individual digits in our brain as well. So we want to move them individually. Another good exercise is finger drumming. So I'll just move that back so you can see. So lifting those fingers up one at a time with force and drumming them on the table. And you notice how hard it is for me to do my ring finger and little finger by themselves, and that's because the tendons can sometimes be quite close together and connected. So, and then you do it on the other hand. Again, big strong movements with lots of force. Even though we said the flexors get tight, it's really important that we're working on the movements this way, because that's what we need for grasp. So we work with a exercise called opposition, and it's where we bring our thumb and fingertips together. So we press them down with force, and then we open our hands really wide. Press them down and open up. press them down and open up. And the idea is you're trying to get a circle, so we don't want them flat, we want that circle. And open up. So again, pressure down, so that force and that big open up. Really getting those big, strong movements. So even though it's fine motor control, we're working on big, strong movements. And again, you'd swap hands. And again, we'd be working on starting with 30 on each finger and doing that 2 times. So lots of repetitions. It's important for neuroplastic change within the brain that we're getting lots of repetition. Okay. Another exercise that's really good is getting that thumb moving. So if I turn my hand around here, trying to slide your thumb along your finger. So you do it facing you and you slide that thumb along your ring finger to try and get some movement. It's quite difficult to get it there, and most people want to come off, but we're wanting to slide along. So again, we're coming forward, sliding along the thumb. The thumb slides along the ring finger. So we're wanting to get that thumb to be getting open when you're grasping, but also being able to come around for fine motor control to pick things up. So you can also open the thumb up this way. Which can be quite difficult. Another really good one is working on wrist extension. When we're reaching forward, we're wanting our arm to come out. So we're wanting to actually lift up and keep that range. Now you may want to do one hand at a time. Especially if you find that when you lift 2 together, one doesn't come all the way up. So again, we're wanting big movements. And it's all the way up, so we're wanting that extension and then down flat. I notice some people's hands can come up like this, so you're trying to get it as flat on the table as you can. The other thing that's really good to do is to practice working on control and placement and accuracy of where the hand goes to the mouth for eating and drinking. So you can put your hand on the table, turn it round and touch it to your lips. This is giving motor patterning to where we need to bring our hand to our mouth for drinking and for eating. And you're making sure that you're not coming over to the side or up to your nose, that you're directly getting on to the lips themselves. And again, you can do that with both hands. So now we're starting to get into the reach phase. Making sure it's nice and accurate. So those are just some exercises to get the fingers moving. The other way would be to bring in some equipment and do some functional tasks, and we will talk about that at some other time. Okay, have a good day.